Okay, good morning everyone, or good afternoon if you're on the East Coast or somewhere else in the world. And if you're new to these live streams, I typically go for about 45 minutes to an hour. We go through all kinds of different charts and we're just trying to look for trade ideas. Some of these charts I look at all the time, some of these charts I never look at. But oftentimes we'll find some good trade ideas for the next week in this live stream. So let me know if you guys can hear me okay with the audio, with the sound check. And I will get started here just in a couple minutes. We're going to go through subscriber stock picks, or any charts you guys want me to look at. So if you have a particular stock or indice or anything you really want me to look at around the markets, just leave a comment and I will, go through those. That's basically what these live streams are about. Give me a thumbs up if you're new, or if you've been here for a while. Again, I look at stock charts all the time, so some of these it's also helpful to have a second set of eyes. If you guys see something that I don't see, or if I'm missing something, just point it out in the comments. I'm not going to catch everything all the time, so we'll just see what we got. Hopefully everyone's having a good start to their weekend. Markets closed on Monday. So we'll resume on Tuesday. So this will be my last video, and then I'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll see what happens. All right. Once again, just as people are kind of joining up, if you want me to look at any stock and you want me to analyze a stock chart, something that you're interested in, leave a comment leave a comment on what stock you want me to look at. And I go through that comment list and we'll just start to pull up these charts and see what we can come up with. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So, some interesting things happened on Friday. Possible stick save. I keep putting out these videos that I think we have a sell signal. We're right there on the cliff. We're potentially, and I'm trying to be on point with the timing, because that's where the lowest amount of risk is at. If we can get an entry right when something's about to break down, if we're wrong, then we're wrong small. If we break down and have a big sell signal and then you pile in with your entry and then it reverses, then you're wrong large. So I'm trying to keep our losses, at least my losses, to a minimum by pretty much being on point for the entry. So I want to point out one thing that I noticed on Friday, and it's in the futures, on the NQ futures. You can see on the NASDAQ futures, this is kind of the trend line I've really been watching here. And Friday, actually last week, 2 attempts to basically break that trend. So we had one here. You can see we broke. They recovered it throughout, basically at the end of the day. And then on Friday, we were down below the trend, and they recovered it pretty much at the end of the day as well. So we're just seeing a pattern of that, where the bulls are coming in the afternoon and really trying to hammer it back up above this trend line. And so far, they were successful. So gives me a little pause. It's not, I wouldn't call it an all-in short just because of what happened. And by the time I get the video out, I'm pointing out the trend lines, trying to indicate where I see things at. This was breaking down when this video was coming out. And then, and then there was that recovery. So things to look for on that. Now, if we Tuesday or Monday night, if you start to see the futures, if they sell off, then that's obvious. On the Qs, the Qs trend line's not as clean as that futures trend line, but it's pretty clean. You can see I've got it marked in blue, and we've got all the support lines kind of circled out, and you can see we're just chopping around a little bit. So you can see we broke, we recovered, we broke, We did close below the trend line on Friday. My trend line could be slightly off. I think it's pretty clean. Maybe I'm off by just a little bit, but looks like we did break and they weren't able to recover that. So we'll see how Tuesday comes up. If you get a gap up on Tuesday and maybe you gap up and recover this trend line, it might make sense to just exit. That's what I will probably do if I am short the triple Qs right now. And if they gap up on us on Tuesday, I'll probably just exit right in the morning, and then just wait for another sell signal or another breakdown. Because if they gap up, they're probably going to try to run it up, and there's nothing that says this can't just run up and make a new all-time high. There's nothing stopping us here on that. I think we're going to gap down is what if I had to guess, and the reason why I went home short on Friday is I think we're going to gap down. What I think is going to happen, and I talked about this, but when you have an extended bull trend, you get trend traders that, the mantra is the trend is your friend until the end. So they don't exit while the trend is intact, and that's why when sell signals come and when tops are put in, you usually, at least in the beginning, can get kind of a swift move down. And that's going to trap a lot of those long traders because the trend is their friend until the end. And it doesn't just give them a clean exit. It's not going to just like drift lower and say, okay, time to get out. The top's in. Everyone who's been long this trend forever, go ahead and take your money. And because not everybody gets to take the money, right? I mean, if you're taking profit, someone else is not going to be able to take that profit. It's just, there's no gains in the market. Money's just transferred. So basically, that's kind of why I think we're going to get a gap down, and the trend will be broken, but will be broken with a surprise, and then you'll have kind of a flush out move. Not a complete crash. I think we're just going to get a kind of a flush out move initially to kind of trap some of that long money, and then we'll start to gradually work our way lower with bounces along the way. That's what I think is going to happen, but obviously that's a really hard call to make, trying to call exactly what's going to happen on Tuesday. It's pretty low probability to call the market day by day. Okay, so Qs I think broke, and we'll just have to wait and see. SPY, SPY is still just within this kind of upward trend line, and I'm looking for it to trade down to the bottom. But no breaks quite yet on that one. And then the NQ, I'd really like to see those futures break and just with that recovery. But again, I really didn't think it was going to break on Friday. I didn't think the market was just going to, drift lower and start to give everyone a clear signal that it's going to break. Usually the market doesn't like to give shorts a perfect entry, and it doesn't like to give longs a perfect exit. Usually it likes to trap money, and and so all right, that's my analysis on that. So I'm going to start at the top, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you haven't done so. I've got 52 viewers and 20 likes. If you guys haven't hit that, I do appreciate that. It's just a click of a button. I don't know how much it helps the channel, and but I'm supposed to ask, I guess. All right, so we'll start at the top. Start with SQ. All right, so I've been kind of watching this. These have been getting just, the snot kicked out of them. And these are the Cathie Wood kind of ARK Invest stocks. Here's the high. I was really tracking this stuff back here because this was a divergent high, and I was like, okay, that looks like, a likelihood that the trend was about to reverse, and sure enough, ended up pretty much being the high. This one made like a triple top right here. Now we're in a clear downtrend. All right, so I've got that marked out on the daily chart, and if you want to refine it with the hourly, and you can kind of tighten it up with the hourly, you can see I probably can, probably tighten it up like that, something like that, basically. I like that right there. See, support, 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 lots of tags. All right, that's pretty good. And then my top looks pretty good up there. You can see resistance all through here. There's one, and there's one. All right, downtrend. Doesn't even really look much like a wedge. Looks just like a downtrend. On the daily, we have, yeah, a little bit of, yeah, not much divergence. I have to go to the hour. See how it's like, I mean, yeah, you have slight bullish divergence, but this is just pointed straight down, and just any more selling is just going to take that divergence out. It's going to look like that. So not great looking from my perspective. I don't think we're going to be long this thing anytime soon, but we'll just keep an eye on it. Sorry, my phone was playing music in the background. And yeah, I just need to see some more. This has to shape up and form up for any kind of long. Probably going to get a bear market rally sometime soon. But why? We don't want to just catch a falling knife. This right now is just there we are. It's some support right here. You can see former resistance. There's some support. So likely going to be a reaction here, but the divergences aren't telling me anything. So could be heading lower, which would be good support down here on SQ. All right, that's really good support. See this big sideways? Just lots of trades took place. Big support down there. So maybe that's where this wants to head before it gets a rally. All right, I don't see anything but down right now on this one. AMD, yeah, that chart's gotten a little tricky for me, so I haven't been too interested in it. But with AMD, the thing is, from 2016, we had this pretty clean uptrend line. All right, look at all the didn't quite hit it there, and then as we've gotten closer, it's just been chopped through, and it's just been messy. It's just, look at that, it's just whipping through it, and so that's really hard to trade. I see that, and I'm like, I can't trust this trend line anymore, like it was, like you would think you could trust it. But so, there's a slight secondary trend line right here. I have it marked in blue, and we have several reactions on that. You can see support. There's one, there's one, there's one, and there's one. I just wait for both of those to go. If I wanted to short this thing, that's what I would do. Do I want to short it? Yeah, you've got some divergence. See it right there. It really showed up right there on the RSI. And, it was slightly there on the PPO. A little bit of negative divergence right up in here. And we've been going lower. But again, we got this trend, these double kind of trend line thing right there. So I wouldn't be interested in any kind of a short until I see that get taken out. And until then, it's anybody's guess. All right. Well, XLE is strong. Someone asked me my opinion on XLE. So this is your oil sector. Again, so if you go back and watch, I put a video out back here in like October or November of 2020. And this is when I was really interested in the oil sector. I think the video was called Oil Stocks, and I had a different thumbnail and, older video. And yeah, I haven't been right on some of the shorts and stuff in the past, especially through 2020, but definitely was right on this one. And I was pretty bullish on the oil stocks, and they were one of the most bullish looking sectors to me. And I was loaded up long on all the oil stocks down here, and because they had bullish divergence and everything I look for. I don't have it. I erased it, but it was basically right there. And then it broke out. We had a buy signal, and off to the races it went. And clearly one of the best sector. It's probably been the best sector, I think, for the last year and a half. Now, pretty extended. That's just a parabolic move straight up. I think it's probably in a longer-term bull market, starting to go into a longer-term bull market. Because look at this. There's a little, maybe we're running into this. Well, I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I'm not exactly sure. All right, you've got this kind of longer-term trend line that, you know, you could maybe say it's broken out, but it's close enough to where, you know, it's right here. Maybe that's a breakout, but let's give it a little space, I would say. But there's a downtrend line, and as I zoom in, you know, we are breaking out with negative divergence, although it's not fully confirmed. So until it confirms, you can't just trust it. But they're, you know, slightly lower lows or lower highs in the PPO and the RSI, and a much higher price right here, but not confirmed. Until this starts to turn down, then it would be confirmed. If it doesn't turn down, it just keeps going up. It's just, you know, seems to be breaking out. You know, I am a believer of this inflation trade. I just don't think the Fed is going to allow the markets, or at least, you know, this is my general thesis, could be completely wrong, but I think that the Fed is trying to walk the markets down to take some of the pressure off of this inflation trade, because the inflation trade is getting out of, you know, it's getting out of control. And if they don't do anything now and just keep pumping the markets, there already is a pretty big problem, but it could get really serious for everybody, basically, including asset holders. You know, if it gets out of control, it can hurt all kinds of asset holders. I mean, even if you own stocks, you know, if it's really bad inflation, you lose all your money, basically. Real estate in Venezuela just lost all its money, even though they had hyperinflation, you know. So I think what they're going to try to do is walk the market down, and then as it comes down, you know, maybe like 15%, 20%, at least 10, I would think, but 10 to 20%. Then they'll start to ease up and say, okay, now we're good. We kind of took a little pressure off of this inflation trade, and that relieves some of that pressure. And that's what I think they're going to try to do. All right, so they're going to try to talk hawkish, walk the markets down. The markets should sell off and come down, and then they'll ease up, and hopefully they can stop the selling and everything's happy, and then start to, you know, keep everything stable. If they lose control, though, which is, I think there's a good chance that they lose control, then the markets could crash, you know. And so at that point, they'll have to flip completely into stimulus and pump and do all the stuff that they like to do. But I do think that they're going to attempt to walk it down and then stop and throttle back and say, we're going to go a little easier. Longer term, I think this inflation trade is in play. I think that's your long-term trend for the next decade, to be honest. I don't think it's gonna. So oil, I think, should continue to benefit because it's a real commodity, basically. All right, so that's that. All right, XLV, that's the healthcare sector. I think XLV is probably topped, but so XLV, I had this bearish rising wedge pattern that I was really watching, and you can see the top of this is really good. You know, look at all these tags of resistance. So we kind of broke above it just briefly, false breakout. We've come down. Looks like we've come in for a back test. The seller stepped in early. And what I would do is, now it's got this little secondary trend line right there. You wait for a break of that, and we should go down. Do we have divergence? You know, in the short term, no. We did make a higher high, and the momentum was kind of moving up as well. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't really have the negative divergence that I typically look for. You don't have to have that as a criteria. It just helps with the condition of the thing. Maybe it wants to rally up and make a new high and then put in a divergence. But at the end of the day, probably a break of this trend line right here. You break that, we'll start looking at this dropping to our support levels. Support levels, you know, you've got one right in here, 125. Just call it 126. You've got another one, kind of a minor one, but basically right in, this is kind of a support zone, but 120, 121.50 down to 119.50-ish. And then Yeah, we'll just track those for right now. That's probably consistent with a good size correction, 11% to the kind of that bottom. So that's what I think on that one. I'm not positioned in this one, but I am short XLF. So XLF, it's important to take a step back sometimes. Everyone can get kind of caught up in the day-to-day. And if I say, oh, I'm going to go short, and then it rallies that day, they're like, you're wrong. And it's like, well, this is, yeah, if I, on a day trading perspective, I'm wrong. But, I'm not day trading. I'm taking positions based on trending charts over time, looking for these things to move in my direction of the trade, over a period of weeks to months, basically. So 2020, here's March 2020 lows, support, and then you got some support all through here. We broke, back tested, and I think we're going to fail. All right. And then on the shorter pattern, on the hourly chart, we put in a bearish rising wedge pattern. We broke. This was my early indication. Okay, there's my sell signal. And yeah, it was right before earnings, so definitely higher risk. Anytime you take something right before earnings, it's higher risk. But, I took it. And it broke down. JP Morgan sold off 6%, so that was the big drag, I think. If JP Morgan's selling off, the financials aren't going anywhere. That's the powerhouse of that sector. So, we broke, a little bit of a rally, but didn't go anywhere. Basically just rallied up to the open, right to where it gapped down. So I think we're going lower. Going to go fill this gap at a high probability we fill this gap at 39.66. Maybe get a bounce there, up to about, probably bounce up to about $40, roll over. All right, so I think we're going lower on XLF, and I've got some targets. I pointed those out. Down here, I think, is a good target. I don't know when we'll hit that, but I think coming down to that trend line makes a lot of sense to me. This is where the Fed, look at this. This is what I'm talking about, the Fed trying to take some steam off the market. So here's your weekly chart, 2011. There's your long-term kind of bull market in XLF. Here's your COVID crash, and the Fed, they were successful at recovering that trend line. So now I think they're trying to bring it back down to kind of trend. But they don't want to break the trend. They don't want to see that. Then they start to panic down there. They want to just bring it down to trend, hold it there, and allow this bull market to continue. That's what I think they're trying to do, and they're trying to engineer that. Just like they tried to engineer a recovery of that trend line, now that inflation's out of control, I think they're trying to bring those inflation readings down a little bit to give them a little wiggle room in terms of raising their interest rates and taking some of that pressure off of the inflation trade. All right, moving on, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you're following along and you haven't done so. I do appreciate that. All right, I got to speed it up a little. I'm getting on a diatribe on some of these. All right, so I'm just going through some of these. Someone said Tilray, but rather than that, you want the sector to be in your favor. So here's MJ, which is a pot ETF. I've heard some rumblings about like Congress maybe putting out legislation on legalization, and they might this year, who knows, around midterms. But bullish divergence on the daily, I've got that marked out already. See that bullish divergence? So that is, you have good conditions for a rally. I'd probably just get rid of this. What I would wait for, this is an hourly chart. Wait for your bull break above this. I don't know when that'll come, but wait for a boom, big hourly or daily close. These stocks like to run, so when you see that bull break, that's your buy signal. But you do have the conditions set up for, you have bullish divergence, so. And on this one, I got the first level of resistance right here at about 1350. So it's 20% or so on that one. And possibly more, but, we'll just go with that 20%er for right now. I'll keep an eye on it. Or if you see it breaking, leave a comment in one of my videos, give us all a heads up. All right, moving on. QS, did I do that one already? That's the QuantumScape? Yeah, that's QuantumScape. Again, this was one of those mania stocks. Everybody was plowing into this thing. They have no earnings. The Fed was definitely trying to take some pressure off this. I think they've accomplished that, but yeah, I don't see anything in this chart that's bullish. See this low right here, this former low, the lowest low that we have in the kind of recent pattern. So then my PPO was right here, right, and a little bit of divergence on the RSI, but the PPO doesn't have it, and now we're making a new, well, I'm sorry, I take that back. We're kind of making, well, we have a new lower low in momentum and a higher low in price. That's not divergence. You know, you want to see momentum showing strength while price is showing weakness. I don't know. I think we're going lower. Probably going to go fill this gap right here, right down there. Maybe we'll find some strength down in this area. Let me move that up a little bit. 15-ish. Maybe we go fill that gap and then find some strength. The former reaction low was right here. See this former reaction low right in that area? That's another possible target. 1155. Down in that area, you're probably going to find some strength. I mean, this thing's been bombed out already. But again, this was just a momentum trade. Everybody was buying it just because it was going up based on nothing. And they you know, big sell signal right there and down ever since. Okay, so hopefully you're not just a bag holder on that one. Net. Yeah, lower. I would say lower. Look at the momentum, all right? This is a key indicator. So here's where this was our divergent high, or our negative divergence, telling us, okay, about to reverse trend or likelihood. All right, so you were uptrending right here, bearish rising wedge right in here. I called it out, big sell signal, have it circled, and down ever since. All right, that's the strategy I teach in my course. So everything about this trade, you would have seen it coming. You know, it's kind of step by step. You get the divergences, you get the condition, you look for certain things. All right, check that course out if you haven't done so. It's 99 bucks, but I mean, you'll make that. You would easily make that just in this one trade. I mean, it's a cheap thing. Down she goes, and look at the momentum now. You've got just lower momentum. All right, on the RSI and the PPO, lower price, lower momentum, downtrend. No, that's it. That's all you see. No conditions telling me that there's any bounce or reversal or anything right now. I mean, maybe if I look at the hourly, you might see something starting to show up. You know, typically you see some stuff show up on the hourly, and we do. You know, there is bullish divergence on the hourly right there. So maybe that's good for a rally back up to here. It's really hard to say, but that would be a resistance is right there, 110.52, and then support is, yeah, right about this area, 94. I'll call it 95. All right, so that's your range. I think we're probably heading lower though over time, likely down to here, maybe 61.75. Yeah, that looks like good support down there in that area. Excuse me. All right, that, guys, and I'm gonna try to. Well, this is an energy company, and obviously the strongest sector, I think. It's been one of the strongest sectors. This one looks like here. This must be your COVID drop right here. No, it's not actually. Yeah. This kind of looks like more like your actual trend-ish right here. You've got a false breakdown. That was a island cluster bottom reversal pattern. So you gap down, trade down there for one other day, and gap up. That's a reversal pattern. Island cluster. And sure enough, you got that reversal. I would say on this one, I mean, it's pretty extended, but that doesn't mean it can't continue. I don't see anything bearish on it. I don't know. I would probably just stick with it, maybe tighten stops. You've got, you know, maybe you're going to pull back, but I don't see anything bearish on it right now. Let me look and see if there's anything longer term we can point out. I mean, you even possibly, yeah, I mean, it even looks like you got a longer term breakout of, you know. This is where, all right, so maybe up to here, because there's your highs right up in there, and you've got a tag there, a tag there. So that could be a target up in this area before you get a pullback. 2066-ish, you know, depending on when you get there. All right, that could be a good target. That's all I have on that one. SMH is a semis, so I'm generally bearish on that, but here's SMH. You know, until we break this trend line right here, no full sell signal. That's all I see on that one. You know, bearish divergence is building. See the RSI and the PPO. If you guys don't have PPO, use the MACD. Moving average convergence divergence. You can use it pretty much in the same way. And all we're using it for the most part, is looking for divergences and bearish and bullish crossovers, things like that. So these little highs that it's been spiking around in, this to me looks like distribution price action. And maybe like that Wyckoff thing. I haven't looked into that one too much, but it's, I think, you know, essentially shows a distribution top or accumulation bottoms. And that's what it looks like to me. It looks like a distribution top because you've got divergences building, negative divergences. So I think we're going to go down here and then ultimately break, but until you see that break, that you wouldn't have a full sell signal. You know, if you wanted to, you know, take a higher risk trade, maybe you could take a starter short and get it down here, cover that starter short, and then if you get the break, re-enter the short. That's a strategy that might work, but it's higher risk. Okay. All right, Root, I don't even know what that one is. This was a penny stock. I mean, clear downtrend. I mean, you know, I don't. What do these ones do? Insurance, finance. All right. So it's been building bullish divergence for a while on the PPO, and a little bit of bullish divergence starting to form there on the RSI. But again, divergences are just a condition, not a reason to like load the boat long or, you know, sell something short. It just gives you a condition. You need other things to actually take a trade. And I teach those in my course. This one, you know, it's probably forming this bullish falling wedge pattern. No, I don't know. It just looks like a downtrend to me. You know, we don't have the cleanest trend. I don't have much of an opinion on that. I wouldn't touch it. All right, Baba. Yeah, Baba still looks good. See where we closed on Friday, kind of right at that support. That was your former resistance. Break above, come back in and back test, and off we go. All right, probably get a reaction here. I don't know whether, you know, this reaction could even pull you all the way back down to here, but that would be my target right there. All right, 160, 131. Until I see anything different, that's where I think it's going. All right, we had bullish divergence right in here telling us we're going to get a breakout. There's our buy signal. I have it circled right there, and up she goes. All right, no, bullish. That's all I see, at least for a gap fill. What I like to do in these gap fills, though, because they're so obvious to everyone, that I like to just get into the gap and start to get close, and then I get out of the trade. I usually don't hold out for gap fill. And I can usually do that because I get in, the strategy that I teach gets me in pretty early, you know, and so, you know, why be last to the party and try to squeeze every single penny out when I was first to the party? All right. Yeah, retail does watch linear for the most part. You can't chart over longer term trend lines with linear. I think AMD is a clear example. Just to give you guys a quick little lesson, this is AMD on the daily chart. I've got it in log scaling, so you can see I can chart a clean chart in log scaling. If I pull that log scaling off, how am I supposed to chart that? You know, look, it's just a big mess. So it, you know, there's my trend line going back to 2016. I can't chart a parabola. If I go to log scaling, all right, quick little lesson why that works. All right, Ford. Sorry if I'm skipping you. I'm not, you know, I can't cover them all. All right, I'm short Ford, just full disclosure. I took a short on it right up in this area last week. And I like this trend line right here, this resistance line. We're in an uptrend. We have a upward price channel, and we're at resistance with negative divergence, not fully confirmed, starting to confirm. We'll see how, you know, but see that flattening out. If we get any kind of selling, we'll probably confirm. All right, and that would be, but we have negative divergence right now. So I'm short at resistance with negative divergence. Little higher risk trade, you know, because I don't have like a break of a trend line. I'm shorting at resistance. You know, that's two different ways you can short. You can short at resistance or short on the break of a support line. One of them has higher risk but higher reward, you know, and that's typically shorting at resistance. You know, if the lower risk reward would be waiting for a break of this trend line here. If you get a big sell signal, then, you know, that would be your a good conservative short entry. I shorted it here. Maybe I'll add if we break that. All right, that's what I got on that one. But what I'll likely do, you know, if the trade starts to work out in my favor, I'll come down here and cover my short, and then because I've made profit, I'll just wait for that sell signal, and then I'll take the trade again. All right. And from where we're at now, I don't know, 14-15% drop down to there. All right, moving on. DOCN? Which one's that one? DigitalOcean? Oh, that's web hosting. Is that what they do? Is this like a GoDaddy kind of web hosting thing? I think DigitalOcean does that. All right, so let's see here. There's your bull trend. Yeah, right there. Support, 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 break, resistance, downtrend. Okay. Momentum. See the RSI? New lower low just recently than the previous low. Downtrending momentum. On the RSI, the PPO is likely going to do it too. Downtrending price action, broken trend, nothing bullish about it. All right, where do we go? It's you know, we just start looking for. You can start looking for support levels, but I would want to see. You know, you're probably going to come down here. You know, not too far away from that area. Yeah, 46 area. 46 isn't going to prove to be the support though. You want to see some divergence and stuff start to build down there. So this one I think is just lower. All right, moving on. I already covered Ford, so you can go back and look at that. I'm just going to skip through some of these. I already covered BABA. CRM. Las Vegas Sands, actually, that one, I saw that one had a big rip. The other, yeah. Yeah, so this, you know, I can't watch. So this one's been, you know, clearly bombed out. Bullish divergence. bullish divergence building on RSI and the PPO. So you've got divergent low, divergent low, divergent low. That was another one. Lots of bullish divergence, telling you you're likely going to get a breakout, and that, yeah, I would probably call that move on Friday the buy signal or the breakout. It's ran pretty good, you know. What was 14% a day? Maybe you want to wait for a pullback. You know, that's what I would probably do if I wanted to go long this thing, but I think it is probably a long, and you know, I don't know, maybe up to this longer term. It's not my favorite, to be honest. It's kind of a, you know, big chop zone, a big, huge chop zone, multi-year chop zone. So, you know, maybe it wants to run up to the top. But yeah, looks bullish. If I had to pick a side, I wouldn't short it. Let's just put it that way. All right, moving on. Salesforce. All right, guys, I'm just going to go a little bit more. Yeah, so we got a sell signal there. Big, huge sell signal. Downtrend ever since. Didn't really come with the negative divergence, though, so that's probably why I haven't really been that interested in it. You know, so we'll probably trade down to this area. It's kind of a messy chart as well, but I would say maybe trade down to this area, 205. Longer term trend line, though, down here coming off 2012, so that could be the target as well. Maybe something like that. Let me look at this. What's this candle look like right in here? 1 day break, recovery. We can call that okay. That kind of just a false breakdown. COVID drop, which is another false breakdown. So maybe we're, yeah, see that? So we're probably going to chop around and work our way down, and like pretty good support down in this area. This is the area when we get down here where I expect the Fed to start to like ease off, and I think the market will have been sold off. The Qs will be down and everything, and then this will be down in this area too. Excuse me. All right, guys, I'm just about finished. So let me just go through the last few ones. QCOM. I'm short QCOM. Now, the way that I traded it, and, you know, this is just kind of active trading stuff, but what I like to do, sometimes if I really like a short, I'll take a larger position. As it starts to work, even if it hasn't hit my profit target, I'll pull off that, like half of it. So then I've got, you know, what I would normally consider a full-size position, but I've already locked in some profits. That's what I did on this one. So for me personally, it has given me a little more wiggle room because I've already kind of evened out my trade. So as of right now, I have a full-size position in QCOM. I'm short. We could pop this high, though. You know, we got these little highs right here at 192.07. I could see them running up and making a little pop. You know, another divergent high. Clear divergence. Look at that negative divergence just dropping off, all right, on the momentum indicators. So the momentum is just, you know, completely dropped off. We made a divergent high here. We made a divergent high right there. I think we're going to drift lower and you know, maybe gap down. How far of a gap would this be if we, yeah, that's not going to happen. But we could drift lower over the next week or so, kind of get down in this area and then gap down, you know, gap down and start to sell down. That's a hypothetical. Hey, thanks, Mr. Bear. I do appreciate that, guys. Just a nice gesture. Okay, just a couple more, guys, and then I'm going to wrap it up. BTU, what's that, coal? You know, I've traded that last year. I was long that thing. Yeah, see, well, so I liked it down. Where did I buy this thing at? I don't know. I've caught in some rips on this. This is, I mean, if you bought in the lows, man, that's a monster. I don't usually catch those kinds of ones. Those are home run trades. They don't, you know, few and far between. But This is the trend line that I have, and it's broke. I think that's broke. So, you know, don't get greedy. You know, divergent high, I have that circled. So you see the negative divergence right there. That was an indication. We've already pulled back though. So, you know, that might be all that's good for. From the sell signal, which came right here, it pulled back 40% and starting to rally. Let's see here. Bullish divergence down here at the low. See that right there? Building that bullish divergence. So as we were drifting lower, right in here, that was building that bullish divergence. Broke. Here's your, we'll just go with your downtrend here. I can't make a clean one, but it's clearly broke above. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be bullish, I guess. If I had to be anything, I'd be bullish. This could be just putting in like a longer term uptrend. You know, maybe it wants to run up to the all-time highs and exceed those slightly. I don't know. I'd be bullish on this one. All right, moving on. Just a couple more, guys. Adobe's been bombed out. That one looks bad. Adobe looks bearish. Down to, all right, so longer term trend line on Adobe, going back to 2011. I think we're going down there. All right. Good support right down in this area. Right in here. So I think we're probably heading down to 433. I don't know. Maybe we'll undercut it, hit that support there at 422.77 and then recover and hold. That's what I think is probably going to happen. That's what I'd look for on that one. But from where we're at now, I think we're going lower, potentially another 15% or so. One more and then I'm going to wrap. I've been going for almost an hour, about 45 minutes. All right, which one do we want to cover? Yeah, Viacom is kind of interesting. You know, I think Viacom's heading up here to this 42 area. The breakout came right there. See the bullish divergence? I didn't catch it. You know, I charted this after the fact, after I you know, I don't know, maybe back in here. So I'm not really interested in taking it, you know, because it's way too far away from my risk. You know, my entry would I'd want to be right there on that buy signal would be my entry, my preferred entry, and, you know, off to the right. It's already up from that entry, what, 20%. And so I think we're heading up to this 42 area. I've got that kind of marked out as a really, you know, key level. So hit that, probably pull back, and then maybe break. You break that to the upside, you could be in for a pretty sizable run. So yeah, there is a potential there for a monster trade, but I wouldn't take it here. I'd rather wait for it to run up to 42 and pull back and then break and then come back up and break just for confirmation. You know, I want to make, you know, I want to limit my risk. And yeah, that's all I have on that one. And then let's go to Roku, and I'm going to wrap up with this one. All right, guys. All right. So Roku, that's a really good support right there on Roku. All right. Look at all those tags, that support shelf there. We've undercut it, so we're running stops right now is what's happening because everybody sees this as a good thing. We could go a little lower, you know, maybe... I would really, here's what I'd love to see on this for a long setup. If this can continue to drift lower, you know, kind of look nasty right in here with some big, nice plunges, and then just start to hold up and build and then come back up and recover. Look for a big, you know, look for a breakout candle above that, like a big green candle above this area, which is about 169.50, we'll call it. That would be my buy signal. All right, that would be my entry trigger on the break back above there. And the reason why I like that is you got a big support shelf right here. You undercut that, you're going to run all these stops. You're going to, the longs who are just, you know, forever bullish, they'll start to capitulate, you know, if they haven't already. But, you know, you got all these longs who have rode this thing up. They're like, yeah, and especially the late people, they're starting to take on huge losses, giving back all their profit. They don't want to give all their profit back, so they start to sell and panic sell and capitulate. And that's what we might see, is kind of a capitulation, selling, and then it's bombed out. You know, there's no more sellers left, and there's only buyers, and that's when you see the recovery. So that's what I'd like to see. Keep an eye on it. You know, if the RSI starts to turn up here and we start to build that bullish divergence while making new lows, that's what I want to see. All right, I want to see the price continue to kind of chop around while making these spike down lows, while the momentum starts to turn up and build bullish divergence. And then that gives me the setup. I have a condition for a long trade, and then I'd wait for a recovery or a bull break above this 169.50. You get that breakout candle, that's your entry trigger. That should be good for a bear market rally. And I would target up here, all right? 295.09. When I say bear market rally, I'm talking about just this stock. This stock down 67% from the highs. Bear market in this stock, but you can get these really powerful rallies. So I'd look for that, and then we could rally all the way up to here, all right? 295 area. I'd probably cover my long a little bit early. Okay, guys, that's all I got. Everyone have a great weekend. I can't get to them all, so leave a comment in one of my videos, and as I scan those, I do try to kind of pop those charts open and look at it, and I'll, you know, if anything looks interesting, I'll include it in one of my videos. And you guys have a great weekend. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.